here we are. Take these off because it looks better without them. My guest today is Krisi Vadnais, and I am so excited to have you on this podcast. We were introduced by our mutual friend, Jen Glacken, and our first conversation, we just totally hit it off, and I love your story. I love that you're willing to share it. Welcome to Fine is a 4-letter word.
Lori, thank you so much for having me on here. I am so excited to be sharing my story. And if it can help one person, I've done my job.
Yes, well, I imagine you were going to help far more than one person. So let's start off
Yeah.
with the question that I like to start with because I like to tie things together. And I'm so curious, what were the beliefs that you were raised with or the beliefs that were instilled in you when you were younger that that contributed to who you are, who you became as a young adult?
One of the great things about waking up and realizing that you don't want to be fine anymore is that you have the opportunity to look back in your history and your past and growing up and figure out where these beliefs come from so that we can heal those beliefs and begin to think something better. And if we don't acknowledge them, we can never heal and we can never grow from them. And so, through my process of realizing that fine is no longer good enough for me, I had to look back to my childhood and see where it came from. I am an identical twin. We look just alike. We're two separate people, but we look alike. We get mistaken for each other all the time. We both live in the same town that we grew up in. We get mistaken for each other constantly. In fact, just today it happened to me, and Saturday it happened to my sister. So it happens
Wow.
so often. And growing up, it was a huge ordeal because identical twins were not as well known. I
Hmm.
was born in 81. Twins became a lot more popular in the late 90s when fertility stuff came about, but identical twins are still not any more common. But even in the beginning of the 80s, it was really rare because we didn't have social media to share those kinds of things.
Right.
So out in public, my sister and I were always the thing. We were always having to dress alike and my mom was so proud of us. She was the mother of twins, and we had to act a certain way. And it was like once we went out in public and we were identical twins, we were somebody. But then we'd come home and it was like a totally different home life. You know, I don't have a ton of memories of my mom playing with. I don't have any memories of my mother playing with me. I don't. It was me and my sister kind of in our room. When there was an issue, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, was it just the two of you or were there other siblings too?
I had two older brothers. They were 4 and 6 years older, so they were a little bit older than us. And it was we were separated, the girls and the boys. But at home, if we had an emotional issue, I would just like crave this attention. I needed someone to help talk me through it and get me through it. And that was just not there. Now, as an adult, I realized my mother did the best she could. She didn't know how to regulate her own emotions, so she couldn't
Mm.
regulate our emotions. And so we
Hmm.
were forced to keep everything inside, not have emotions, big emotions, whether they were happy or sad or if we needed anything. We weren't allowed to have any of those, but we earned our love from being cute out in public as the identical twins. So very early, I learned that I had to earn my love for someone to love me. It wasn't
Wow.
something that was just a given. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
That's incredibly difficult, I'm sure, for a child
Yeah.
to not have unconditional love
Yeah.
or to
And it's
not feel it at least.
not feel the unconditional love. And it's not something I was aware of growing up. It really was not until I got divorced and looked in my past and realized the patterns that I have been over and over and over again, I've been repeating. And it's all from when I was a young child. And it's not that my mother was malicious or that she didn't love me or she didn't try. She did the best she could. It just, I needed more. And so, from a 5, 6 year old standpoint, even younger than that, 3 and 4, I began to learn that love for me is conditional. That
Mm.
someone's not going to love me unless I do exactly what they want me to do and I act the way they want me to act and I perform like a little circus monkey and then I can be loved. And then when I go home, it's kind of like, okay, we're done now. We've had our fun.
Yeah, put you away into your
Yeah.
monkey cage and take you out when we are
Right.
going out again. Wow.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious because you have a twin.
Yes.
Did she feel the same?
Yes. So my sister and I both do therapy, and our aha moments, because we grew up in the same household, very much similar, our aha moments, she'll call me and say, "Oh my gosh, guess what I just found out in therapy?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, guess what I just found out in therapy?" So we like switch back and forth because we're like, "Wow, that makes so much sense. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing for 40 years." It takes that reflection. It takes, or, when I think of something, I'll come back to her and I'll say, "This is why I do this." And she'll go, "Oh my gosh, I do the same thing." So her and I both really battle the same kinds of things as adults because we grew up the same way.
Yeah, and it's interesting though that you get to make discoveries that you share with each other to help each other's growth. So, yeah, you're discovering some things, she's discovering other things, and then you both benefit by sharing with each other. That's kind of an
Absolutely.
unusual, I don't know if I should say benefit, but I mean, it's a benefit of having a twin, I guess, and having had those same experiences.
Absolutely. And I think we all grow up with some kind of our needs were not 100% met.
Sure.
Everybody. Because our
Regardless of
parents,
whether
right.
your parents were June and what was it, the guy Cleaver?
The
June and
cleavers.
yeah, the Cleavers, or which is
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who grew up in a family like that, but
No.
no, regardless of what your actual family situation was, we all interpret things in different ways, and right, so that
Yeah.
creates these beliefs, limiting or not. Some people have developed beliefs that serve them very well,
Yeah. Yeah,
and yeah,
absolutely.
but we all do interpret things in different ways, whether our parents or our grandparents or whoever was around us was intending them to be interpreted that way or not. Like we all, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah. Like and even as a mother, I can anticipate my child's needs. I've got 2 children, so I can anticipate and I can do everything I can, but there may be something they need that I'm not giving to them and I don't know because they don't know how to ask for it. And it's the
Right.
same thing when I was 5, I didn't know how to tell my mom, "This is what's bothering me. This is going to affect me as an adult."
Yeah. Right. So
You know?
that leads into the perfectly. How did it affect you as an adult? Then what happened as you
You
grew
know,
up? And you were talking about still seeking conditional love.
yeah, still thinking that I have to earn love from somebody. So I got married. I met my husband at 28. We got married when I was 29. I had my first son at 30. And when I was 4 months pregnant with my oldest son, he told me, he sat me down. He said, "I have something to tell you." He said, "I'm an alcoholic." And I was floored. I had
You
no
didn't know
idea.
before he told you.
I did not know. He was
Wow.
so good at hiding it. He had already been hiding it for a decade. He had been an alcoholic for 10 years. So he would drink vodka with his Monster so that you couldn't smell it. So
Mm.
you couldn't, nobody knew. And he would drink so much just to exist throughout the day, not to get drunk. So at that point, he was not getting drunk every day. He would get drunk occasionally, but it was actually pretty rare for him to drink that much, to the point where I noticed he was being drunk. He drank just to exist. So he would get up in the morning and start drinking, and he'd end his day drinking, and I had no idea.
Wow.
And through that, I was with him for 10 years. Yeah, about 10 years. And the drinking got worse and worse and worse, as alcoholics do. There's
Sure.
two ways out of an alcoholic: sobriety or death. That's it. And so if you're not getting sober, you're headed in the other direction. It is
Mm-hmm.
a progressive disease. It does not get better unless you get sober. So through the 10 years, I realized how much work I had to do because I was still trying to earn his love because he wasn't just giving it to me. And he knew that. Like there's something about when there's an addict, they become very manipulative and
Mm.
narcissistic. I don't know if he was a narcissist and manipulator before or if it was, listen, I don't know. That's for a psychologist on
Sure.
a different day.
Sure.
But he became so manipulative that he would feed off the fact that I was trying to earn love. And so he would guilt trip me very easily. And I was still trying. So I would try to do everything I could to make sure that the kids were taken care of and the house was taken care of and all of his needs were met so that he would still love me. And he would, every time I raise the bar, he would raise the bar of,
Mm.
well, once you get here, then I'll accept you, then I'll love you. And it just kept going up and up until I couldn't do it anymore. Like the bar was just too high. I was giving everything I had. And, as long as if I did everything for the kids and the house was clean and dinner was made and everything was taken care of, then he wouldn't have to worry about it. And that's one less reason for him to drink. So he would find
Ah.
another reason to drink,
Okay. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So you were trying to fill a void that couldn't be filled.
that could not be filled because I just kept thinking if I just do a little bit more, if I just do a
Mm.
little bit more, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. I'm fine. He's fine. We're all fine. I just need to do a little bit more. Give a little bit
Yeah.
more myself.
This is similar, certainly not the same story, but in a previous episode with Helene Mazer, what came up, if I just do this,
Mhm.
then
Yes.
everything will be fine. Everything will be better if I just.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I just. That is absolutely that was my mantra. If I just, then
Hmm.
everything will be fine. And I was reaching for fine. I
Right.
was
As that was the place that was your aspiration, not what you
yeah,
wanted to get away from. Hmm.
right. And I was pretending like everything was better than fine. If any of my family members or even my closest friends, they all thought that I lived a much better life than I did. And I was fooling myself as much as I was them.
I
Same thing.
imagine you had to stay. You had to fool yourself.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I would have left. But, me trying to be the positive person would say, okay, let me find the positive in what's going on. Let me
Hmm.
let me think about what he does do instead of what he doesn't do. Because there's
Hmm.
so many things out there that say, oh, you love your husband. Let's think about what he does. Let's not complain. Let's not whine. Let's not be the nagging wife. And so those are the pieces that I picked up and ignoring all the rest because it was easier to just stay where I was at and not have to figure out a new life. Like I had
Hmm.
figured this one out.
Right. And even though it's not really what I want, it's comfortable because
It's
you know it.
comfortable.
It's the
Yes.
right.
That's a great way of saying it. It was comfortable.
Right. Because you know what you have, and if you change, you don't know what that looks like. It could
Exactly.
be worse.
Yeah. And I knew what was going to happen every day. I knew that he was going to get up and drink. And it seemed easier and more, like you said, more comfortable to just stay in a world where I knew what was going to happen. And I knew it, especially after 10 years, I knew what to expect and I knew how to handle everything. And I thought I was
Predictable.
doing a good job.
Hmm. Right. Okay. So now that leads to what happened. That was there a particular incident that happened that you just went, okay, this is the line. The line has been crossed and now I need to do something? Or what was the moment that you decided I'm not okay with fine?
I think the moment I stepped up to him, and it did not seem like a big step, but I think it was big enough for him to leave me. So because of his alcoholism, he had not slept in the same bed as me. We had not gone on a date. We had not held hands. We had not kissed in years, years. And um, I had an ex-boyfriend of mine reach out to me, and I had never gone out of my marriage. He reached out to me and he was just saying things that I needed to hear from my husband. He was
Mm-hmm.
saying things about, the way I looked or the way, um, he missed me. He loved my personality. He, missed my smile and little things that I wanted to hear from my husband. And it started to, I felt like that conversation with him was going to start going way off. And so I thought, I need to end this. I need to get this from my husband. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went to him one night and I said, my husband, I said, I need you to date me. I need you to hold my hand. I need you to sleep in the bed with me. I need to be your wife because right now all I am is the mother and the person who cleans everything up. That to me was the moment where I went, I can't do this anymore. But there was no ultimatum. So that was on a Friday. And
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, he hadn't said anything. And Sunday, I said, did you think about what I said? Because it never dawned on me that there was an ultimatum. It was just, this is what I need from you. And that
Yeah, it's
Sunday,
a
he
more
said,
presented more as a request than an
yes,
ultimatum, it sounds like.
absolutely. It was like, I can't live like this. This is how we're going to live. This is just, I'm putting my foot down. I'm done not, I'm done. I'm allowing myself to be treated this way, and my own feelings are going down, about myself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
have been tortured. And it's on me, but I need someone to not put me down.
Mm-hmm.
So on Sunday, I said, so did you think about what I said? And he said, I did, and I'd rather divorce you than date you. And so that was it. And then the next day, he said, I quit paying all the bills 4 months ago. He was the main breadwinner. He
Wow.
said the house is in repo or the foreclosure. The car was in repo. The electric was getting shut off. And then a week later, he got fired from his job for drinking, and he hasn't worked since. So it was, yeah, it was
Well,
literally like this was my life, and it was comfortable and it was predictable. And then all of a sudden, it was rug pulled out from underneath me, and none of that was there. None of what I thought, the life that I had pretended to live for 10 years, was just not there anymore. It was gone.
wasn't even a thing. But back
Yeah.
up for a second
Yeah.
because so you asked him this on Friday and
Mhm.
Sunday he tells you he hasn't been paying the bills. So
Mhm.
when was he going to tell you that? Like that was going to have to come up at some point soon.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And I do believe things happen for a reason. I think, when my ex reached out to me, and listen, this was an ex-boyfriend that I dated when I was 19. Like, I hadn't seen him in, you know, 15, 16, 17 years or whatever. He had
Mhm.
reached out to me on social media. And I had spoken to him in well before I met my ex-husband. So the fact that he came up just at that moment to say the things that he did that
Mhm.
helped me to step forward, I
Yeah.
really think that those things happened to prepare me, because if he had stopped paying the bills 4 months before that, he was preparing for what was about to happen. Whether he
Right.
consciously knew it or not, I think he saw that as his way out of this.
Yeah, it's just interesting the timing that you came to
Yeah.
him and then everything started falling apart.
Yeah. So I think he had been preparing for it. And I honestly believe that a big part of the reason he wanted the divorce and to move on is because he wanted to be alone with his disease.
Okay.
He wanted to go be alone with, and he has been alone with it. He lives with his mom now. He hasn't worked. He's drinks way more than he ever did when we were married. He's had several scares of, we thought that it was just a matter of days,
Mhm.
because his organs are failing. So I really
Mhm.
believe that was him saying, I'm ready to just succumb to my disease.
And was he saying it because he kind of wanted to save you and the kids, or there was no thought of that? He was only thinking of himself. Or
I
you
think
don't
he
maybe
was,
don't know.
I don't know. I think if I had to guess, I would believe he was only thinking of himself. But whatever your higher power, whether it's God or the
Mm-hmm.
universe or karma, whatever it is, I
Mm-hmm.
think that was conspiring to do all that, thinking
Mm-hmm.
of me and the kids.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
What steps or processes or things have you done to heal from that experience? Because people talk about going to Al-Anon or to um, some kind of support. Were you doing that when you were in the marriage, and or did you not do that? What?
Yeah. So Al-Anon, for those that don't know, those that are in active addiction go to AA, should go to AA, and those who love somebody with an addiction go to Al-Anon. So this is the support of the family and friends of those that are in addiction. I
Thank you
had,
for clarifying that.
yeah, I had belonged to Al-Anon prior to this, and I learned so much. Once he left, I was an only parent to a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I now had to juggle work and babysitters, and so
Mm-hmm.
there was that part of it was put on hold, but all of that stuff I still remembered. So now I'm back involved with Al-Anon, but I
Okay.
had to put it on hold because I had to, one step at a time, which is something we
Right.
learn in Al-Anon. I had to because I had no money, I had no time. I was now working 4 jobs trying to make ends meet, and I had these two small children to take care of. So I dove into meditation, I dove into hypnosis, and um, every time I would come across something that I didn't like, I was bound and determined. And I think that's what takes me and anybody from fine to better than fine is that you wake up one day and you go, this is not good enough. I have to get through it. Like I can't ignore it anymore. I am forced to face all this stuff from 37. I was 37 at the time. So 37 years of my life, I have to get through it because I don't want to be here again. So every time that I would come up with something new, like, oh, look, I realized I'm not good at boundaries. And so I would pick up a book about boundaries and I would do YouTube videos and I would look on Google and do blog posts, anything free resource for me. I soaked it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But meditation was really the thing that got me through it because it eliminated all the, I call it the record player. We all have a record player of those things that just spin and spin and spin. And you
Yeah.
can't even figure out what song you're on because it's spinning too fast. And meditation for me was the thing that, like, okay, slow everything down, empty it all out, figure out what song we're on so we can deal with it, and then we can move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I love that analogy. I haven't heard that one before, but I
Yeah.
like it. I
Yeah.
like it. And we talked beforehand about the setting up boundaries and asking that question of what is your part in it.
Yeah. And that was a huge part of healing from that. It's so easy. When I tell my story, when I tell my story and there's so many pieces of it. Living with an alcoholic, and there's so much that you do and you deal with that you don't tell anybody because of all the shame and all the guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And when that relationship ended and I was moving on, I knew I couldn't move on until I took responsibility for my part in it. It's easy to say, to hear my story and go, oh, it's all him. He was an alcoholic. He did this, he did that. But that's not going to help me. If I keep blaming him, it's not going to help anybody. Like,
Yeah, it just
he's
puts
not
you in victim mode.
exactly. And I'm never going to heal. And my goal was to heal so that I can move on from that. If I continue to blame him, that meant that the next relationship was going to be exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the relationship after that. And so I had to look back and go, look at all the things that I did through that I could have done better. And a big part of that was, again, trying to earn my love, trying to earn his love from him that I was never going to get. But I gave him permission to treat me the way that he did. I covered up
Yeah.
for him, which was not good for him.
Yeah.
That was enabling him.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. The enabling.
Yeah.
At
Fixing
the
his
same time,
mistakes.
fixing his
Yeah.
mistakes. At the same time, you have to let go and forgive yourself because, again, just like you mentioned, your mom was doing the best she could. You were doing the best you could with the information and the tools and the knowledge that you had at the time.
Absolutely. And I will say that was the hardest part. Forgiving him was easier than forgiving myself.
I
Be,
understand that.
you know, because you feel like you can actively forgive someone else.
Hmm.
It's harder as a verb to actively forgive yourself.
It's so difficult.
It
I
is
think
so
it's
difficult.
not just the two of us struggling with that. Everyone who's listening struggles with that in some regard of whatever it was that happened in the past,
Yeah,
forgiving yourself for a decision you made, a choice, a situation you found yourself in, whether it was your doing or not. Like, you just
yeah,
show something happened, and forgiving yourself for that experience. Like,
absolutely. And I
that's
think the hardest part about forgiving yourself is because you know that it impacted other people. Like, forgiving him for his
yes,
part in it because it impacted me, and so I want to move on. But forgiving myself for the impact that that's going to have on my children, it's like,
yes,
how do I forgive myself when they're going to have to deal with this as an adult? Do I deserve forgiveness when they're going to have to deal with it? And the answer is yes. And it took so long to really dive into he gets to be forgiven, not for me, but for him, because he's a human and he's flawed. And I get to be grateful. That's really where my forgiveness started, was because I was grateful for going through all of that. Because of that, I'm where I'm at now, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. And so I know that everything that I've done, maybe I'm not perfect, maybe, slight chance I'm not perfect, but my kids are going to end up where they're supposed to end up because of this as well.
yes, yes. And so take us to where you are now.
So now, right when that happened, I started working for a friend of mine. We opened up a coffee shop, which I loved working in the coffee shop. I was good at it. I love people. I love coffee. It seemed like a great fit. But something happened where I felt like, oh, I'm comfortable again. It's predictable. I'm comfortable. And I just felt like I was holding myself back. Like I've been holding myself back for so long, trying to earn people love, trying to get comfortable. And I thought, you know what? This isn't for me. So I turned 40 this year. And for my 40th birthday, I got boudoir shots done.
Oh,
If you
wow, nice.
if you don't know what they are, there's sexy lingerie, and they're just for me. I don't show them to guys. I'll show them to all my gal friends, but not my guy friends, because that's not what they're there for. They're for me to feel sexy. And I thought, man, if I could do anything in this world, it would be to let every woman know that they are allowed to fall ridiculously in love with themselves. And I came out of that shoot wanting to help women love who they are as they are, exactly as they are in this moment.
I would I would go further to
Yeah.
say not that they should, but that they have a responsibility to themselves to love
Yes.
themselves.
Oh, I love that, Lori. Absolutely. They do. They do. Like you don't have to beat yourself up anymore. You can love who you are. I am I am a size 22 and I absolutely love who I am. You don't have to be a certain person. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be married to somebody to love
Mhm.
who you are. And so, oh, I get so pumped up thinking about it.
I
So I
can
thought
tell.
about,
It's
yeah,
awesome.
I thought about everything that I've done the last 3 years going through the divorce. And I've been a public speaker for about 6 years now. I've been competitively, I've got trophies and I've gone to the international level. And I went, all of this stuff that I've been doing for the last years, I want to help women love who they are. And so I decided to throw a bomb into my own bullshit and quit holding myself back. And so I quit the coffee shop and I started as a life coach, a hypnotherapist. I help with negative belief clearing, law of attraction, manifestation, meditation. All of everything that I've done for myself, I now have this giant toolbox that I can help other women. I want
Mm.
them to love who they are wherever they're at.
Such important work. And
Yes.
I love that you're taking all of your experiences, again, that every piece, everything that happened to you up to this point, and using it as fuel to move
Yes.
forward.
Yeah. And I'm so excited. I mean, the amount of women that I've already helped, and even I've got men coming to me for the same reason. And
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I'm able to help them, they're going to be able to help others. You know, it's
Right.
a ripple effect. And it's the same thing what you're
Exactly.
doing with this podcast is that, if you can inspire one woman who's going to smile today and go, I'm not alone. Like there's other people who are like me, just kind of fine, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That exponential
Absolutely.
effect. I love it. All right. The question that you knew was coming.
Yes.
What is the song? So you are super high energy to start with.
Yes.
What is the song, your walk up song, the hype song, the song that you listen to get you energized when you need an extra boost?
It is 100%. This was not a hard question to answer. The song is called Champion and it's by Carrie Underwood.
No way.
Oh my
That
gosh, that
that is my song too.
is it.
Yes, and I don't actually, it has never come up and nobody has asked me what my song was.
Oh
So
my
I'm so
gosh.
happy that you mentioned it because I freaking love that song. I love
I
all
do.
the songs that my guests share, but that one is that's my song too.
That's awesome. You know
I
what?
love it, Krissy.
Kindred spirits, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, before we close out, tell us where people can find you if they want to reach out to you for more information, if they want to talk to you about your experience and how it relates to their experience. Like, how can people get in touch with you?
The easiest way to do it is to go to my website, and it's Coach Krisi, which is spelled Coach CoachKrisi. I have a weird
Okay.
spelling to my name. So it's coachkrisi.com. You can email me at chrissy.vadnais, which is chrissy.vadnais@gmail.com. You can find me at Facebook at Coach Krissy. And I'm actually giving away to all your viewers, if they go to my website or email me and put in the subject line tapping, I'm going to send them a 10-minute video of how to do really basic EFT tapping to get some of those negative
Fantastic.
thoughts out. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
such a powerful tool, the EFT
Oh,
and the
yes.
tapping. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy you're offering that to the
Yeah.
audience. And we'll put all the links, I'll put all the links in the show notes too, so people can find you there as
Awesome.
well. Thank you
Lori,
so much for joining me today, Krissy.
thank you so much for having me. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours.
We could, and we won't. Well, at least not right now. Take good care. Bye now.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay, so